came from Boone. I came down
421, 321.
421. I went to 77.
Yeah.
I was cutting through Taylorsville, but I didn't feel like doing it. And then I came down 77, got on 70, went across 70, and actually I went all the way to Jake Alexander. And I rode down there where Rose's house used to be. I just kind of did a little tour on Mitchell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went down by that. And then came out, and I thought I was going right, and I took a right on 29. And I'd already looked up how to get on 152. So I just figured I'm just going to do that. So came down and just followed the sign that said 152 truck route, and it just came across, I guess, 85 and just came right here. It was pretty quick. So, and then I didn't use my map. I looked at the map yesterday. I didn't use my map to get here.
Well, you did good then.
Yeah. So
you did real good.
That's an Adams thing. Yeah, my story of the Adams was I used to tell people that the rite of passage was at Christmas time when I was about 12 years old, and I'd already been I guess I'd been on the trip with y'all up to Pennsylvania, and I said something about something whatever, and because y'all used to sit around and argue about how to get to places. Like you'd say, no, if you turn at the Esso station in Harrisburg and take a right, then once you get to Hershey or Hummelstown, whatever. So I broke into the conversation that year at Christmas time. That's when I told everybody I officially had become a man. So I broke it. and now people call me and they're lost. And I actually have friends that will call me. They'll be in Richmond and says, "Man, I'm so and so. Do you know how to get?" And I'll tell them how to get there.
Daddy could do that.
Yeah, I know he could. And he could take them back.
Daddy could. I used to take him out on Sunday afternoon when he was in the nursing home, and we'd go out to the county somewhere. I had no idea where we were. And I said, "Daddy," I said, "I'm lost. Where are we?" We go up here to this next road, turn to the right, go up about a half a mile and turn to the left, and right on out. He knew exactly where he was. He said, "I pulled cars out from down here before, come down here and started cars or whatever, And I'd have no idea where we were, but he knew exactly where he was. You couldn't lose him.
I guess, I don't know if did he read maps too, or did he just get it from traveling around? I knew he read maps when he went to Pennsylvania.
Yeah. A lot of it just traveled around.
Yeah, because I know he was on the tow truck.
For a while, yeah. Yeah.
All right, so speaking of that, I just want to get you to talk about Pawpaw. Like, tell me about your memories of Pawpaw. When you were little, did you do stuff with them? Did you?
My daddy worked all the time.
Okay.
He worked 6 days a week.
And what did he work on Saturdays? Did he work all day?
He worked all day on Saturday. Get home 7 o'clock at night sometime.
Okay.
And but he did. He worked 6 days a week. He'd leave home about 8 o'clock and get home sometime 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. You never knew when he was going to be there.
All right.
We'd always eat supper, and Mama would leave it on the stove, on the table one, and when he came in, she'd warm it up for him.
All right.
But he worked a lot, and he got a week off for vacation, and whenever they did, they went to Pennsylvania. He and Mother would go to Pennsylvania in September, or somewhere along there.
So when did those trips start? When did
Lord.
Were you a kid? Were you in high school? You must have been still home.
It was high school after.
Okay.
Might have been after high school. Then most of them didn't start till after she got her new truck. She got her new truck in 1950.
Okay.
The other one they had was a big truck,
So you have a Dodge. They get a Dodge.
It was a new Dodge, yeah. And I remember when I joined the Air Force, and I came home at Christmas time. And I came to the bus station, and they were there and met me, and all. She walked out, and she said, "I didn't see the old truck or the car, either one." She said, "We're riding in this truck now."
Right.
It was a 1950 Dodge pickup.
Got it from Full Motors?
No, she got it from Bill Dove in Kannapolis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She didn't buy it from Full?
They didn't sell Dodges.
Okay,
And,
all right.
They didn't sell trucks at all. So that was the first new truck that they had. And she and Rose and Mike.
Mike Shy.
Mike Shy.
Cousin Mike, all right.
Yeah, they went to Pennsylvania. They took Mike to Pennsylvania with them. This is while I was overseas.
Okay.
I think maybe might have been stationed in, where was I stationed? Texas or somewhere. Anyway, they took Mike as a little trip for him, you know. And she got up there and she had put a big bed on the truck with the cover, you know, with
Right.
the where she could put a canvas over and everything. And she thought because she had that big bed on that truck that she could fill it up. And she came down the road and she blowed out 2 tires on it.
Oh, really?
And they were out in the middle of nowhere. And Mike must have been 10, maybe 12 years old.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly how old he was. But anyway, he got out and somebody stopped and he got a ride into town somewhere in Virginia. And they took him to a service station. So anyway, the guy at the service station brought Mike back out on a 3-wheel motorcycle. And I'm not sure if he had a tire with him or if he came out and took the tire off the truck or something and put a new tire on it or whatever. Anyway, they told her she just had too much on the truck. So she had to unload that truck and about half of it and leave it in Virginia somewhere and then go back the next week and get it.
So there had been tubes. There had been tubes in those tires.
Oh, yeah.
It probably, which wouldn't hold as much as a
Yeah.
radio would now or whatever.
Yeah. And it's probably just a small tire. I mean,
Yeah.
she didn't know when she bought the truck to buy 6-ply tires and stuff like that,
right.
like they do now.
Yeah, and
So-
probably suspension. Yeah, the
Yeah.
suspension would have been.
So later on we got trucks with a little bit heavier frames and tires, bigger tires and all that on it.
So you were born in 1930?
30,
30 on July the 12th.
right,
Right. At the old house?
at home.
Yeah, at
At
home.
home.
Okay. And then Rose was 2 when you were born. Big mean sister Rose.
Yeah.
And Dad wasn't born yet, so Gerald wasn't born yet.
2 years later he came on.
2 years later, do you remember? And y'all were living in between Grant Quarry and Salisbury on 52.
Right.
All right, and so do you remember the first? What do you remember, like being 5, 6 years old? Do you remember the first thing that kind of hit you? Do you have any?
I remember back during the Depression. I must have been 5, 6, 7 years old. I don't know. Anyway, I still believed in Santa Claus.
Did you know there was a depression? Did you know what a depression was?
I knew we didn't have any money,
Okay, all right.
and Mama could make do on a little bit of nothing, you know.
Okay.
We wore hand-me-down clothes.
And she wasn't working yet, right? She wasn't
No, she wasn't working. Well, let's see. She might have been.
selling mirrors.
She might have been selling Avon. I'm not sure.
Okay, all right.
She sold Avon for a while. I'm not sure if she was selling Avon at that particular time or not. But one time at Christmas time, Mama told us, she said, Santa Claus is not going to be able to come to our house this year. She said, he doesn't have any money. And she said, so there won't be any presents here for you at Christmas time. I said, okay, it's okay. So we got up Christmas morning, and I had a little toy metal truck. And it was a pretty little truck, you know.
Yeah.
And you talking about somebody that was tickled to death. Now that was one happy kid there.
Because you didn't think you were going to get none. Yeah.
We got an orange and an apple and a few nuts, and then there was that little truck. So that's one thing I remember. I don't remember a whole lot about that far back, but
And when Rose so she started maybe selling Avon, and do you remember how old when did she start the shop? Or first of all, you went to Granite Quarry the whole time, right? Did you go first grade through?
First through 12, yeah.
So you went 12 years to school.
Yeah.
And when did Grandma and Papa was working? I guess at Foyle, at least what you can remember. He was a mechanic, and
He went to work there in 1936.
okay. So when you were about 6 years old, and so that'd have been about your first memory of what work was, probably, or what he was doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Grandma Ruby would have been. She may be selling Avon when you were 6 years old, and did she start the shop? When did she start selling mirrors?
She started selling. She started working with Mr. Brown in 39 or 40, somewhere along there.
So you were 9 or 10, about 5th grade.
It might have been the first of 41, somewhere along there.
Okay.
She started. They went house to house selling mirrors.
And that was his business.
That was his business, and he just wanted somebody that knew the area to go around with him and help him, and all.
And how did he? Do you know how he ended up here? This was. I
No.
mean, he rented from y'all, right? Didn't he rent a room in the house or something? Or
At the end, he lived with us.
okay,
When he got sick,
okay,
and he didn't have any family, no family at all, and he anyway, they had the store in Kannapolis, and he had a room down in Kannapolis for years,
okay.
and then trying to what year he died, 52 or 52, I believe it was.
Okay.
I think it's while I was in Korea, and he died. But anyway, for about maybe 6 months or a year or so, he lived with Mother and Daddy. And they took care of him. They had
that room in the back, the front of the house, back where the organ was. Is that where he stayed, or did
he stayed in the middle room. He stayed in what was Rosie's room.
What would have been Rose's room?
Yeah, he stayed. I'm pretty sure that's the room he lived in.
Because Rose was gone by then.
No,
49.
she went to another. No, she was in college.
Okay.
She was at Catawba.
Okay.
Yeah, she was still at home, but she stayed in one of the other rooms.
Okay.
I think that's the way it was. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
And,
Mother had a nurse that came out and stayed with him while she was working and all.
and she didn't have. When did she build the shop behind the house?
That was that was after we bought the big old truck. Probably 48, 49,
Okay.
maybe somewhere around 48,
And,
49.
and did that come first, or Kannapolis store, the Jackson Park store?
The Kannapolis store came first.
And that would have been probably right after World War II.
It was during World War in 1941,
Okay.
42, about 42, I guess it was, because you couldn't get gas, and everything was rationed, and you couldn't get any gas or anything, so they had to quit their door-to-door selling, and
Right.
and this building that they got, a barber and his wife were in it. She was a beautician, he was a barber. They had a little building there, and he had to go. He was drafted, so he had to go to the army. And the building came open, and they opened a shop.
Did they rent it to start with,
Hmm.
and then eventually bought it?
Not that one. They bought another one.
Oh, bought another one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this was
And,
another building.
yeah. And then we stayed there. They stayed there till 1951, I guess it was, maybe 52.
Okay.
Forgot which it was.
Yeah.
Somewhere on there.
So now I'm going to go back to you. So you went through all 12 years at Granite Quarry High School, and then and any memories of high school? What did you take? Just straight up regular classes? Did you take shop? Did you take what kind of classes did you take?
We had agriculture. That was supposed to be a crip course kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I took regular. I took English,
Okay.
math. I don't think I took biology. I don't believe it did.
Any class you particularly liked? That
No.
You didn't like any of
I
it?
didn't like it.
So you didn't like to
I
go?
didn't. I went to school because I had to.
Right.
I made passing grades, but that's
Right.
about it. And
And did you have any aspirations then of knowing like what you like to do?
No,
Did you like to work on stuff, or did you like to? You just didn't like to go to school.
well,
You
I
didn't
didn't
dislike
mind
it.
I didn't dislike it, but I'm not one. I just didn't like to have to study,
Right. Okay.
And
Yeah. All
but
right.
after I got out of high school, then I went to work with Mom, because Rosie was working with her then part time. She wanted to go on and do her teaching stuff, and
Right.
so she got her certificate to teach, and I started working with Mother then.
And at this time, was she already doing antiques and?
Yeah.
Because it started out as a frame mirror, or just mirrors.
Well, it started out mostly as mirrors, and then we added pictures
Okay.
and some china stuff.
And the mirrors
pottery.
were framing the mirrors.
Well, they were some of them were framed, some of them were plain.
Yeah.
Without
did,
frames.
Did y'all frame them then? Were y'all framing things then?
Back in 47, 48, 45, I don't know. Anyway, Mother bought out a place in Salisbury that had some miter box and something else and different things. Then he told her where she could get some molding, and
Okay.
she started doing that a little bit on the side. And
She kind of fell
Daddy
into
made
it.
the frames at night after he got home from work.
Okay.
And
So when he got home from work, he went to work.
after 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night, he'd go out and work for a couple hours making frames for her.
And do you remember Papa talking? I just never remember talking.
He
at all.
doesn't. He never talked much. He never talked much at all. That's where I get my I'm just quiet and listen instead of talking.
Okay. He'd listen. Yeah.
Yeah, he'd listen.
He'd tell you
once
what's
in a while.
going on.
Yeah, but he just never was much of a talker.
Yeah.
And,
Didn't really have to, but
no, Mama did all the talking. He didn't have to talk at all because she did all the talking there. That's for sure.
yeah. So you got out of high school in 1948. 48, and then what? And I guess you went. So you didn't go into Korea for 5 years. You were how old when you went to Korea?
Went to Korea in 51.
Okay.
51. Let's see, was it 51?
48, 49, 50,
51.
So you were like 21 years old when you went to Korea.
Yeah, I joined the service when I was 20. I went in the Air Force when I was 20.
And two things. Were you just, instead of getting drafted, or did you get drafted, and why the Air Force?
Well, my friend Hugh Fisher came down one afternoon and he said, Perry, my friend down at Rockwell, he's the same age as I am, and he's done got his draft notice.
All right.
And he said, I don't want to go in the Army. I said, I don't want to go to the Army either.
Because you could die, right?
He said, I'm going up tomorrow to the recruiting office and see what they've got to offer. So we both went up, and another friend, Bobby Barringer, went up also with us. And Hugh said, I'm going to go talk to the Navy man first. So Bobby and I went in, we talked to the Air Force guy, and he told us that you'd sign up for 4 years. Instead of being drafted for 2, we decided to go for 4.
Okay.
And then after that, then we went to basic training. We were in basic training together, and each one of us went a different way after we got through basic training. And I ended up in Texas. And
yeah, where did you do? Where was basic training?
Wichita Falls, Shepherd Air Force Base.
Okay, Kansas.
Texas.
Wichita Falls, Texas. And then after that, you went to.
From after that, I went to Tyndall Field in Florida for our police school.
And was that something you decided you wanted to do?
No, they said I'd be good at it.
Okay, all right.
You take a test
Yeah.
and a bunch of things, and they said I gave me that, and there's something, a couple of other different things that I didn't know anything about, so
Right.
I just took it.
Okay.
And then we went to school for that, and I got to come home for 10 days or so, and then I went back to Texas, to San Angelo, Goodfellow Air Force Base. And I was there for 9 months, 8 or 9 months, I guess it was. And then I got my orders to ship out, to go overseas. And I came home, and I told Mom I was being transferred to California. I didn't tell her where I was going.
You didn't tell you were going to
I
Korea.
didn't tell her I was going overseas.
So she'd freak out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was home about 30 days, I guess, something or other. I never did tell her. So I flew to California, and we were out there processing for 4 or 5 days, I guess it was. And they put us on a ship, and we went to Japan, and they flew us over to Korea. And
So was it a Navy ship, or was it or do you know?
it was a troop ship.
Troop ship.
It was
Okay.
a troop ship. It was 4 and 5 bunks high, you know.
Yeah, big.
It was big. It was a big ship, and there was about probably 7,000 or 8,000 men on there.
Okay. And what does an air policeman do?
Same thing as a policeman in town would do.
So were you in a city in Korea? Where were you in Korea?
We were there at an air base.
Air base. All right.
Yeah.
And so
And
you
air bases are the same as a small town.
Right.
I mean, you got your people that run the place.
Right.
You got your food service, your cooks and all that. You got your policemen.
Right.
You got your maintenance men that do the work around, and you got the people that work on the airplanes and the pilots that fly them. And
What was the most common? Like breaking up drunk fights? Or I mean, what yeah.
there's mostly just patrols,
Yeah.
gate guard, stuff like
Gate
that.
guard, yeah.
Yeah.
And did you get out much? Did you get in the?
We went to Seoul 2 times in the 9 months, I guess, maybe 3.
Okay.
They had a big PX up there, and we went up there to see if they had anything
Right.
worth looking at or anything.
So you never saw war quote
No,
unquote?
we were back 50, 75 miles from the front.
From the front.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we never saw any war. We just
So the planes were flying out, going to the war. And,
these were bombers,
right.
Jet bombers,
Yeah.
flying out of there. Yeah. From our side of the base, and the other side was fighter interceptors flying out. They would fly patrolling them, protecting the bombers.
Right. And when you did you like that? Did you like being in the service?
I enjoyed it.
What,
I enjoyed
what
it.
did you like about
I
it?
saw a lot of things that I wouldn't have seen
Yeah.
ordinarily. A lot of places.
Meet any people that you kept up with?
Well, no, not that I've really kept up with, no. But
Yeah.
because most of them were from all over the country.
Right.
When I was in Korea, I had three good friends. One was from Georgetown, South Carolina. One was from Hoboken, New Jersey, and the other was somewhere in Kentucky.
Okay.
And we worked together all the time and ate together and everything.
Yeah. Just sort of hung out.
So
And you were, so by this time you're 21 years old, probably. You're in Korea. You were in Korea 9 months? Is that how long you were there?
Probably
And then
9 to 10.
when you got out of Korea, when you left Korea, because this would have been 1952,
Got back to
52.
52, the
When did
September,
Korea,
October 52.
when did Korea end? 55?
53.
Okay. All right.
53 is when Korea
Okay.
went down.
So the hitch that was whatever the hitch you had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you came back and you were still in the service, right?
I came back and went to Montgomery, Alabama, to Maxwell Air Force Base, and I was there from October of 52 to December the 7th, 1953.
Okay.
And I got out early because
Did
the Korean War had ceased. There wasn't a need for as many
Right.
people, and they told us we could get out about 9 months early.
Yeah. Did you ever know any Harringtons in Maxwell?
Harringtons?
Yeah, last name Harrington.
No,
Okay. I just had a buddy whose dad was in that base. I just wondered.
that was a big base. That base was full of officers. It was a training. Maxwell was a Air Force War College.
Okay.
That's what that was.
All right.
And there was nothing to see a major or colonel or a general come through the gates or whatever. Well, a second lieutenant was nothing. He wasn't any more than a PFC.
Right. So you come back from the Air Force, you're 23 years old, approximately. It's 1953.
Yeah.
And they discharged you from Alabama. You come back to Salisbury,
Right.
right? And then what'd you do?
I went to work for Mother.
All right. Which is what you'd done before you went. So you
Yeah.
went straight back working for her.
Yeah.
By this time, she's in the newer place in Jackson Park.
Mm-hmm.
She's framing more, probably
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of getting into the frame business. Mirrors, antiques, or still China?
Still antiques. No,
Yeah.
she had antiques then.
As she started taking trips up to Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania and South Carolina, wherever
Yeah.
she could find the stuff.
Right. And do you know what ignited her to go to Pennsylvania to buy antiques?
She had gone to some antique shows around,
Right.
and she met these people from Pennsylvania, and they kept telling her, what nice stuff they had and prices and all that stuff up there. So
Right.
she and a friend from Kannapolis, Miss Chef, they went up and they bought a lot of stuff and bought some stuff and all. They found out that she could make some money off of it, so she just started going back up there.
All right. Now I'm going to switch subject here a little bit. Tell me about the family that was around y'all, say when you were 20 years old. I mean, 20 to, who, uncles like Uncle Hamp, the Mitts, who would...
Well, Mitt, I think Mitt was probably my favorite aunt. Well,
So-
I had four. I had all my aunts were favorites.
Right, because there
Mitt,
was Mitt who lived in Faith,
Faith,
married to
Snipes.
Snipe, Uncle Alvin, and they had the son Mike,
Mike.
right, the one that went on the trip.
Then there was Ethel and Tillman. Ethel was mother's sister.
She lived in Moxville. Tillman was a gardener, entrepreneurial mountain man. Yeah.
He was a trader.
Trader, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's what you would call
Because
it.
he had like a nurse, didn't he? Had to do
He had
like
a nursery, but whenever she first met him, he was peddling produce.
Yeah,
He was
okay.
hauling cantaloupes and watermelons and stuff
farmer,
like that.
peddler, trader, yeah.
Yeah, he was just a trader.
And that's Mildred, and then
No, that was Ethel.
Ethel. That was Ethel. Ethel. Okay, Mitt was Mildred.
Yeah.
And who's the oldest one? You know?
Ain't Lomi.
Lomi.
I think was.
And
I think Ain't Lomi lived in Albemarle.
Okay, and she was married to
Brooks, Grady Brooks.
And her last name was
Brooks.
Okay. I got you. And what were her kids?
Oh gosh.
You don't know. There's a bunch of them.
She had 2 boys and 3 girls.
Okay. All right. Who was Jack?
That was Mother's brother.
Okay.
He was a Fink.
Jack Fink. All right. And then the last one would have been the last sister. Been Myrtle.
Myrtle was one of the older. Myrtle was older than Mother.
Okay.
It was Aunt Lomi and Myrtle. Uncle Bradley might have been the oldest. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Anyway, Uncle Bradley and Myrtle and Aunt Lomi and Mother, Aunt Belle.
Belle lived where?
Hickory.
Okay.
And Jack lived in Faith. And Ethel.
What was Belle? You remember Belle's last name?
Frick.
Okay, Frick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uncle Fred.
All right. Fred Frick.
Fred Frick. They had a son named Terry and an adopted son named Eric.
Okay. Is Terry the one that lived in Faith for a while? No, okay.
He lived in Hickory.
Yeah. All right. So that's all Grandma's sisters. And then Pawpaw's family was, did you see them much?
No.
The Adams?
The Adams. Maybe every 3 or 4 months or 5 months or so, we maybe would see them.
Go to Taylorsville.
Go to Taylorsville or whatever. But,
yeah.
Back then, like I said, that during the Depression and during the war and all, you didn't go because you had a ration card of a sticker and you got like 4 gallons of gas a week or something like that if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And that didn't go very far.
Kind of like now, except you can only afford 4 gallons.
That's right.
$4 a gallon. When it was $17.9 then probably or something like that. Yeah. All right, so that's Pawpaw's relatives. So you had those. Did any of the mom's sisters come? Did like her and Mitt hang out? Did they?
Mitt, Mother would call Mitt in the afternoon after she get home and say, "What you doing?" or something. And I'd Mitt say, "Oh, just get ready to eat supper or something." Mom said, "What you got?" She'd tell her. She said, "Well, come on up." And so Mitt and Mike would come up. Snipe was working second shift.
Second shift at the plant.
So Mike, she and Mike would come on up and Mitt would bring a pot of iced tea. She made good iced tea. So
I remember tea. She told me how to make that tea one time.
Yeah. And then she said after that, then all the time Mother would have corn or green beans or something. We used to have a colored lady work for us named Tweet.
Tweet, yeah. Thorny Birdsong.
Tweety, Thorny Ruth Birdsong, but we called her Tweet.
Was it Ruth?
Thorny Ruth. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was her middle name. Okay,
Thorny Ruth Birdsong. And Tweet would maybe cook a big pot of green beans or something other, or lima beans or something. Mom would call her and call me and say, "Come on up for supper." And so she'd come up. She was up here maybe once a week.
Okay.
She'd come up and we'd eat something.
She and Mike come up?
She and Mike.
Okay, so Mike was kind of like y'all's little nephew almost.
Well, he's almost like Gerald. Gerald,
like a brother.
Gerald babysat for him for, I don't know, maybe a couple years or so.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Yeah.
He was. I'm not sure if he was in high school yet or not. I can't remember if he was in high school or not.
Yeah.
But he babysat for them, and I can't remember how old Gerald was.
Yeah.
But Mike was really almost like a little brother to us.
Yeah. He's like your baby brother.
Yeah.
Because he's like 10 years younger, and yeah. But
y'all
watched him grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were closer to Mitt and Mike than we were all the rest of the cousins put together, I guess.
And they were living in that little house that's torn down now. In fact, behind the was that the family land at one point where Bradley lived on that corner in Faith?
No.
They just happened to buy the land.
They just still happened to buy the land.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grandma, the little house there beside where Bradley lived hadn't been there that long. It was a big 2-story house there before that.
Okay.
And I remember it leaned like that, and they had a big post up beside that thing to keep.
They probably built it out of what they tore down the other one with when it came down to it.
Yeah.
The little house.
No, they used all new stuff for it.
They used all new stuff. Yeah. And did they build it? Did Alvin and them build that house? Because that was like a one-bedroom house. When
Yeah,
that was like,
Grandma built the house.
okay.
Grandma built the house to rent.
Okay.
Because she owned that land back straight back behind
So
her.
Grandma did own that land.
Yeah, all the way
next to
back.
the church.
No, not all. No.
Well,
straight behind.
Right behind Fink. Right
It
behind.
wasn't about a 50-foot lot or
Okay.
75. It went a couple hundred feet deep. You know?
Yeah. Was Bradley lived? Was that the home place?
No.
That wasn't the
They
home place.
used to live. You know where the Lutheran Church is in Faith?
Yeah.
Right along there was a house. It was a story and a half house or something. That was. I think it burnt down sometime
Okay.
ago. I'm not sure.
And that's the home place.
That's where but they grew up in Richfield.
Right.
And then they moved to Faith whenever Mother was young. I don't know how old.
Yeah.
But
And when it was just getting back to Grandpa Fink, your grandfather Fink. You remember how you were when he died, or 10, 5?
10, 12 years old maybe. I'm not
And
sure.
What did he do?
At one time he ran a roller mill
Roller
in
mill.
Richfield.
Okay.
And I remember he was a big man, 6 feet tall or somewhere like that, I
Yeah.
think. But I don't remember that much about him.
Right.
And
Didn't he have a hand cut off or something in an
It
accident?
seemed like he got a saw, maybe,
Yeah.
or caught in a roller mill. So I don't remember what it was.
And
But
what was his name? Do you remember his first name?
Fitzhugh.
Fitzhugh, yeah, like Fitzhuh or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Fitzhugh Lee Fink. And that'd been Grandma Ruby Fink's Adam's father. Her mother was.
Wait a minute.
This is a good one, yeah, yeah,
Oh.
yeah. I'm trying to think of that one
She was a
myself.
Starwalk before she was married. And she
Maggie Rosetta.
Maggie.
Rosetta
Maggie.
Starwalt Fink. Yeah, okay. And she was originally from Richfield or Faith, or do you know?
I think they grew up in the
Probably over this way.
Boston Crossroad area, Boston
Yeah,
Heights,
Boston, yeah.
School area, close to Ebenezer Church. I think.
Yeah, okay.
I believe that's where they
Yeah.
grew up.
I think
I'm not
Ann
sure.
did. I think Ann did some research on that. There's some
Yeah.
pictures somewhere of that. All
Have,
right,
have you got the?
I've got the
thank-
Fink history.
Oh, you got all that. You got what Mary Carl's wife.
I think so.
did?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, yeah.
But all the different members of the family.
Yeah, that
Okay.
goes way back to yeah.
Yeah.
So that was there. All right. So that covered the family thing. So you're back to 23 now. I'm gonna get you back to 23 years old. All right. So you got out. You must have met Norma sometime. I mean, how old were you?
I met Norma in '54
And where did you meet Norma?
at an antique show,
Really?
Salisbury.
So she was.
We had a neighbor live across the street from us, and he was a good friend of Grover and Elsie, and he said, "I got somebody I want you to meet." I said, "Who is it?" And he told me who it was and all, and he'd already set me up one other time. It's another girl. That didn't go anywhere.
Didn't work. No.
So he said, "I'm gonna tell her you're gonna be at the antique show tomorrow night." So Elsie and Rose.
So she can come
Norma
check you out, right?
Came by, and as soon as they walked in, I knew it bound to be her. And so I'm not sure how it came about. Anyway, I don't remember if I called her or what had happened. But anyway, we went out on a date, and I forgot where we went now. Seemed like we went to some gospel singing at a church. Some friend of hers was in a gospel quartet or singing group or something. Anyway, we went to hear that, and then afterwards we went over to their house and talked and sat around and all.
And did they live in
Salisbury?
They lived in Salisbury. Yeah. Okay. Because she grew up across from the mill, didn't she? Or yeah, that's what I thought. So they had moved to town by this time. Well,
They lived in town. She lived in town all the time. Always.
Okay. All
She'd
right.
always lived in town.
Yeah. Did she go to Salisbury High School?
Boyden.
Went to Boyden High School.
Salisbury now, but it was Boyden.
Yeah, Boyden High School. Where Dad graduated from.
Yeah.
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 Because she might have been. She's a little younger than Dad. Is that right?
She's, let's see, 2 years younger.
Than Dad.
Yeah.
Than Gerald. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they'd have been in school at the same, or at least he'd have been there senior year, which probably I'm sure she didn't remember that. Yeah. So you met, so you met in what, 1955? 54. So you got married about the same time Gerald and Barbara, my mom and dad.
They got married in March or April, I believe it was, of 55. And we got married in October of 55.
Okay. All right. You got married at Presbyterian? First
Presbyterian.
Yeah. And y'all were going to First Presbyterian in is that where she went to church?
That's where she went to church. We'd always gone to St. John's.
Yeah, you went to St. John's, yeah. So the Adams went to St. John's Lutheran, and the Presbyterian church was across the street, kind of catty corner north a little bit. Yeah. And then, so y'all went there, and where did you live when you got married?
We had an apartment out close to the Boarding High School on Lincolnton Road.
Okay.
Upstairs apartment, and we were there for maybe a year and a half, a little over a year and a half, and we moved there to Longview.
So you built the house at Longview.
On the day we moved, it was Norma's birthday on July the 23rd, 1957.
Okay.
Hot 102 degrees that day, and we moved from an upstairs apartment.
Right.
Oh boy.
So you were born. It's July. Yeah. So that was Robert would have just been born. Robert was born that February.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd have been born I was born December 58.
Robert was born a couple years after that.
57. He was born in 57.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was born in February of 57.
Okay.
I was born in December of 58.
Yeah.
So, and then so y'all moved in there. So you're working at the shop full time now. Grandma's still working at the shop, and she's got her home shop.
Mm-hmm.
Did you work at the shop more than she did? Were you in Kannapolis?
I worked full time at the shop.
So you were there, and she would come in and out. She would
Yeah.
check in and out. Because that's kind of the way I remember when I was in 1965 to 70. That's what I kind of remember.
Yeah, she worked full time a lot while when I first got back from the service.
Yeah.
And then she got sick, and so she just started working part time.
Yeah. And when she got sick, what happened?
Her blood pressure ran way up,
Yeah.
and so she just had to cut back.
And that would have been in the early 60s?
Mid 60s, maybe.
Mid 60s, okay.
Anywhere, somewhere between early and the mid 60s, I guess.
All right. Yeah.
But she would come down just about every day, but wouldn't stay all day. And she loved to do antique shows,
Yeah.
and so she did all the antique shows. She and Clara.
Yeah. And Clara worked for her, what was her last name?
Sloop.
Clara Sloop, yeah. Who I'm assuming was a Lutheran.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It can't be a Sloop and not be a Lutheran. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Clara was from China Grove, right?
She grew up out on the outskirts, out in the country from China Grove.
Okay. Was that her, what was her maiden name? Do you have any idea what?
Seckler.
Okay. So Seckler that became a Sloop. So
Yeah.
she was born destined to be a Lutheran. So. All right. So Clara, because Clara was there starting in the 50s.
She got there in 53.
Okay. All right.
She started working.
I mean, I remember her working there when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Teenager almost. Yeah.
She worked for 20-some years.
Yeah. And then, so you ran the shop, and you were getting more into picture framing by this, because I remember, in the 60s, early, mid to 60s, that you were picture framing a lot.
Right.
You got more and more into the
Right.
picture frame business, and that was kind of your...
We still kept the antiques, but I didn't like to do the shows,
Yeah.
and so I stayed with the picture frames.
So you kept some antiques in the store, but Grandma was mostly dealing those out of the Granite Quarry
Yeah.
house, and she was doing all the shows, and that was her thing.
Yeah.
So, and you worked there until when did you finally sell the store?
98.
98.
September of 98.
Yeah.
Last of August, 1st of September.
So
98.
you would have worked there from 50. Really, you started.
I
You started in
42.
In
42. 42. Whenever we moved down
Yeah.
there.
So 52, 62, 72, 82.
About 55 years.
55 years. You're worse than Dad. Yeah, that's how long Dad will be 53 at his employment. But if you take away your service years, that's about 53 years.
Yeah.
Because Dad worked 17 at App so far, and I think he's got one more. That's what I'm guessing. And then he had 37 in the school system.
You think he'll retire next year?
On camera?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he will.
You really think so?
I think he will. I think he'll.
I don't think he'll ever leave there.
I think he'll work part time. I think he'll be very part-time.
Yeah,
I think he'll be
a whole lot of part-time.
Yeah, I think.
It's in his blood.
I think on paper he'll be part-time. That's what I think.
It's in his blood, and he's not going to give that up. He loves it.
Do you have any personality-wise, Dad and Rose, just as kids? Is it the same thing as Dad? What's his dad? I know he's been the baby his whole life, but I mean, was he?
Oh.
I mean, has he changed any? Was he kind of the same? Was he always kind of talkative and?
Well, I really haven't been around him that much, Richard.
But I mean, when he was little. When you were.
Oh, I guess he talked some. I don't remember about when he was real little how much talking he did, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. And Rose, what about Rose? She's the big sister.
She's always been a talker.
Yeah.
I mean, you can pick her up and call her on the telephone, and she'll talk to you for 30 minutes, and say, "What did you want?"
Yeah. Yeah. In Rose, when she was growing up, I mean, she was the big. And he cut it right in front of you. Oh man, it was good. I mean, you could see it was real fresh looking. He said, "Do you want the ribeye?" And he went like that and cut it. He says, "Does that look good?" I went, "Yeah." And then he took it back and cooked it. It was really good. I mean, I'm not a real steak eating kind of guy. I mean, I don't buy steak all the time, but boy, that thing was right. I mean, it was when I got it was good.
I'm not a steak either. I mean, I eat steak, but
It kind of messes my stomach. Yeah.
As far as going to a steakhouse and ordering a porterhouse or something, I don't do that.
Yeah.
I like mine cooked in gravy and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your favorite foods? If you had to pick a meal, or like two like if you had to go eat breakfast, what would you get?
Oh. Well, I don't eat eggs.
All right.
I don't eat chicken.
All right.
I don't eat turkey.
All right.
But I love pancakes. And there for a while, I wasn't even eating breakfast. I was eating, but now I started eating. My cholesterol's run up on me, and I started eating oatmeal for breakfast.
No, you just don't like eggs. You like Robert. Right?
I got turned against them in the service.
And,
we had eggs 2, sometimes 3 times a day.
Right.
Being that we work shift work.
So before then, you were eating it.
I'd eat eggs, yeah.
Yeah. And the turkey thing, was that service or was that?
That was service, and the chicken too. I got turned against chicken first day I was in the service. They took us in, and we've been on a plane all night.
Right.
Flying to Texas, and took us in there to the mess hall, and they had a pot full of, a big old pan full of fried chicken there or something. And I got a leg or something, and it wasn't done, and it just turned me against it.
Right.
I could not touch a piece of chicken since.
So that was it. It was the experience plus the food.
Yeah.
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 And so make sure that's wrong. Good. All right. Yeah, I always wonder why you wouldn't eat chicken, because I remember you not eating chicken or turkey. So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you. I always thought maybe you'd gone out in the field somewhere in Korea and saw people, cutting the chickens, picking them up off the road, eating them. So it was literally just in the barracks, kind of.
I did see, while I was in Korea, there was a railroad track run up beside our base there, and there was a little dog got run over.
Okay.
Railroad train, hit it, and a Korean went out and he picked that dog up. He said, "Number 1 chop chop." He took that dog and he was going to have him some number 1 chop chop.
Number 1 chop chop dog food.
Yeah.
So, man.
So I don't eat dog either.
You don't eat dog, or at least, yeah, not anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we got you through. So you worked till '98, and then you sold the store, right? And then didn't you get it back somehow or something, or sell the building, or?
No, we were just going to sell all of our stuff out and close it up.
Right.
And this guy came in. He'd been a customer of ours. His wife had been a customer, regular customer. And he said, he said, I'd like to do this kind of work. So we talked to Ray a little bit, and we told him what we'd sell, whatever we had left for. And he took us up on it. And I told him I didn't want to really sell the name because I had a good name.
Right.
And I didn't want somebody else coming in and putting out shoddy stuff and
right. So,
and all that.
So once Adams Antiques, what was that called?
No, it was called the Glass
Shop. And once the glass shop closed, the glass shop closed.
I let him keep the glass shop, and he had something else to it.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the glass shop.
Right.
The glass shop and frames or something like that to it. And Scooter was a good guy, but slow. He was precise. He was kind of a
Right.
trained architect,
Right.
and he was just everything had to be right before it went out. But he had a massive heart attack at 50 years old.
Really?
His dad had died when he was 50 years old. His granddad had died when he was 50
Yeah,
years old.
that's the number one sign.
And so it was a big shock to me when he died. I tell you it was, because I knew I was more closer to Scooter than I was Gerald,
Right.
because I would go down and help him a couple of days a week, and just to get out of
Right.
the house.
Right. Yeah.
And
So you kind of trained him. You know,
Yeah.
You were his mentor.
I worked with him for probably 3 or 4 or 5 months there, a couple of days a week. Just
So he died a year into.
it was about a year. He had about a year and a half, I guess.
Yeah.
And so his wife just gave a lot of the stuff away. She gave it to Goodwill,
Yeah.
and
And
She
he bought
gave all of
he
them
bought
over.
the building too.
no,
Yeah.
but we put the building up for sale.
Yeah.
And this Lane Yates came by one day and asked me what we'd take for it, or called me and asked me what I'd take for it, and I told him. He said, "I'd like to look at it." He said, "I don't believe I can go quite that much, but I'd like to look at it." So we took him down and let him look at it, and he bought that building and the one next to it, because that's the one we'd been renting for a warehouse. And so
What is it now?
some Mexican something, I don't know if it's a beauty parlor or what's in
Okay.
there,
All right.
but something's in there,
Yeah.
but I don't know what.
And that where's that shop? If like somebody you're going to explain to somebody where it was, where the building is.
It's on Cannon Boulevard at the corner of Lane Street and Cannon Boulevard.
Okay. And there's a barbecue. Is there still a barbecue place on the corner there?
At the back of it, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this
Yeah, they're still there.
This would have been the second and third building as you're going toward Charlotte or toward.
If you're coming from Charlotte, be on,
Yeah.
as soon as you pass the stoplight, there's a Amoco service station on, well, it used to be Amoco, it's
Yeah.
BP now, and then some kind of accounting office, and then our building was next
Okay.
up in there.
Oh, they're connected too, right?
They're all connected.
Yeah,
there,
yeah. It's
Maybe-
two buildings there, and then the barbecue place is behind it.
It's at the back of it.
So yeah, okay. All right, and all right. Let's see if I got anything else here. This is good. Now we got a lot of stuff here. And when you went to the Presbyterian church until when that broke off. Was there a break off in that?
We Norma went to Presbyterian church, and then after we got married, she just didn't enjoy the formality of the Lutheran church.
Yeah, right.
And all of her friends were over to Presbyterian church,
Right.
so we decided to go over there. And her Sunday school teacher and 3 or 4 others, it was about the time that the Presbyterians were, anyway, they're changing their doctrine a lot.
Yeah, they're getting more
And they-
liberal.
yeah.
They got more liberal.
They got a whole lot more.
Yeah,
liberal.
yeah.
And they didn't go for it, so they
This was
decided
in-
to start a church of their own.
Was
They
this in the
started North Hills.
60s, late.
65 probably.
Yeah. So during the
Six,
by the time,
mid 60s.
by the time the Beatles came out,
Somewhere along there.
most things happened when the Beatles and the Vietnam War started. So.
Yeah. And then we were there for maybe 10 years or so. And
And was that a Presbyterian? Did they
it
call it
wasn't
a Presbyterian?
They called
church?
it Presbyterian, but it was not connected. It was
Right.
an independent.
And it was just an independent
It was an
Presbyterian
independent
church.
Presbyterian church. And we were there for 10 years, I guess. And then we went to, our pastor started another church, and we went with him, Maranatha. And we've been there ever since
Yeah. And that's still
35 years ago.
that's
I
still
guess.
an independent Christian church.
Yeah.
That's no affiliation.
No
with Presbyterian. That's
affiliation,
just
no.
a
Independent
So
church.
that'd be a Bible.
Yeah.
Probably most people would call it Bible church.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're still in that. That's out. Where's that? That's
Highway 70, Statesville Boulevard. You came by it when you came in.
Okay, so it's between Jake Alex. It's out from Jake Alexander.
I don't know if you saw the fire station
Yeah, I did.
right across the street from the
Okay,
fire
I was
station.
looking at the fire station. So.
Yeah, that's new. I've just been there less than
Okay,
a
yeah,
year.
that's why I noticed it. It looked kind of new there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
all right. And then you moved. You sold your house to Rose,
right.
and in 1995,
95.
and you've moved out here. And this is what do you call it? What do you call this area? What? West Faith.
I don't know what you call it. It's
Give me
East Faith.
Give me here from Faith. Tell me how to get here from Faith.
From Faith.
Yeah,
Come down the Faith Rockwell Road.
From Salisbury.
From Salisbury.
Yeah.
And about a mile and a half from downtown Faith, turn right on Castor Road. And you go a mile and 2/10 or 2/8 or something or other, and turn right again at Gerald's Body Shop. You go 1 block and turn right again, and you're here.
Yeah, and you're the second house on the left.
Right.
175. Yeah. Wood sided. What do you call this? Cedar sided. Cedar something.
I guess it would be. I guess that is cedar. I don't.
Yeah, cedar sided. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a pretty yard. So. Anything. Well. Anything else in your life you want anybody to know? What if you had to tell your descendants anything
No.
about life or anything or doing what they do? What would you tell them to do?
I have no idea.
What would the Adams think gene pass down? Or say you worked 52 years. Would you work 52 years again? Would you?
Well, if I enjoyed it, I would.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If I enjoyed what I do, I would.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed my work.
Yeah. What do you do now? What do you
Nothing.
do? Nothing.
Watch television.
Watch television.
I get out and mow the yard a couple hours a week. And
Yeah.
we go out and eat lunch every day.
And you were self-employed. Were you ever an employee of Grandma?
Yeah.
You were an employee, and then when did you become self-employed? When would you have taken over the shop? And
Altogether,
yeah.
when she died in 1976.
Okay. So from 76, 86, 90, 76, 86, 96. So for 22 years you were self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
You were paying your own taxes. You had an accountant. You did all that stuff.
Yeah.
You paid your own health insurance. You
Still do.
yeah, still do. Yeah. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
You have supplement. You have a supplement. You have Medicare,
Medicare.
and a supplement. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm self-employed. That's the reason I guess.
It's not cheap, I'll tell you,
Nah.
Richard.
Nah.
It's not cheap.
It gets worse every minute. So.
It does.
Like gas. So.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna turn it.